In the lore of black myth Wukong, the Four Loongs, guardians of the great rivers, are the sons of the King Loong of the Jing River. They each rule over one of the four major rivers, the Yangtze, Yellow, Huai, and Ji rivers. These rivers, which flow into the sea, hold great significance in both mythology and the natural world. The game hints at a disturbance in the balance of power with the line, "The four rivers are out of control," likely alluding to the rebellion of the Loongs who govern these rivers. The Four Loongs and their rivers. 1. Red Loong, guardian of the Yellow River. 2. Black Loong, guardian of the Ji River. 3. Cyan Loong, guardian of the Yangtze River. 4. Yellow Loong, guardian of the Huai River. These four dragons were tasked by the celestial court to administer and control the flow of these mighty rivers. However, the tragic story begins with their father, the King Loong of Jing River. He had 9 sons, each entrusted with unique tasks and responsibilities in both the mortal and celestial realms. The 4 eldest sons were the closest to him and carried forward his legacy by becoming the guardians of the great rivers. These 4 Loongs played a pivotal role in maintaining the natural balance, ensuring that the rivers flowed smoothly and provided life to the lands around them. The remaining 5 sons, while not as prominent as the river guardians, were no less significant. They served as protectors or loyal servants to other deities in the celestial court. 500 years after Sun Wukong's imprisonment under the Five Elements Mountain, Bodhisattva Guanyin was tasked with finding a suitable candidate from the Tang dynasty to undertake the pilgrimage to retrieve the sacred Buddhist scriptures from the West. She began setting the stage in Chang'an, the capital of the Tang Empire, where a sequence of seemingly unrelated events would eventually lead to the establishment of this mission. The turning point came during a trivial bragging contest between a lumberjack and a fisherman. A sentry of the Loong King overheard the fisherman boasting that a fortune teller, Yuan Shoucheng, could predict where and when to catch a great haul of fish for the price of a golden carp. Concerned about the depletion of his river's fish, the Loong King disguised himself as a scholar and challenged Yuan in the capital. The bet was simple. Yuan was to predict the exact time, amount, and duration of rainfall in the region. The Loong King, as the ruler of the waters, was confident he could manipulate the outcome. However, when he returned to his palace, an edict from the Jade Emperor commanded him to follow Yuan's prediction exactly. Still, the Dragon King altered the rainfall slightly in an attempt to win. When he returned to the capital, Yuan Shoucheng exposed his deceit and declared that the Loong King had committed a celestial crime by defying the Jade Emperor's edict. The penalty for this was death. Desperate, the Loong King sought the help of the Tang Emperor, who promised to save him by keeping Wei Jiang, occupied all day, the emperor's minister, but also an astral being appointed by the celestial court as the judge of human affairs. However, during a chess game with the emperor, Wei Jiang dozed off and astral projected into the celestial realm, where he fulfilled his duty by executing the Loong King in his dream. The Loong King's death led to a grave injustice. His vengeful spirit appeared before Emperor Taizong of Tang, demanding his life in repayment. The Dragon King pursued the emperor relentlessly, even bringing his case before Yan Wang, the king of hell. As a result, Emperor Taizong's soul was summoned to the underworld for a trial. During his journey in the underworld, Emperor Taizong was repeatedly reminded of the bloodshed and suffering he had caused in his ascension to the throne and in unifying the land. Upon his return to life, he was instructed to perform a Buddhist mass to atone for his sins and bring salvation to the Tang dynasty. Emperor Taizong began preparing for the grand ceremony. During the mass, Guanyin appeared and revealed the existence of the sacred scriptures in Layan Temple on Mount Lingshan, which would bring true salvation to the empire. Tang Sanzang, the leading monk at the ceremony, volunteered to undertake the perilous journey to retrieve them. With the stage set for the pilgrimage, the 4 sons of the Jing River Loong King were left in a precarious position. They feared that, like their father, they too might one day face retribution from the celestial authorities for their father's crime. Seeking guidance, they visited Yuan Shoucheng once again. The fortune teller cast his divination and warned them with the cryptic phrase, "The hidden dragon should not act," advising them to remain hidden and patient. Despite this warning, the Four Loongs felt increasingly anxious and uncertain about their future. Believing that their fate might mirror their father's tragic end, they submitted requests to resign from their celestial duties, but no response came from the Jade Emperor. Fearing the worst, the Four Loongs abandoned their posts and sought refuge under the protection of powerful Yaoguai kings, severing ties with the celestial court as they waited for their fates to unfold. Lore of Red Loong. Among the Four Loongs, the fourth brother is Red Loong, the guardian of the Yellow River. Known for his cunning and opportunistic nature, he amassed his wealth and offered it to the Black Bear Gwai in exchange for a hidden cave behind a waterfall to serve as his refuge. After a long period of slumber, Red Loong awoke and longed to soar into the sky and stretch his body again. However, to his dismay, he found that he could barely rise to the clouds. Unwilling to accept defeat, Red Loong sought the aid of Black Bear Gwai. Though the black bear was not skilled in flying, he could not resist the opportunity for profit. He sold the Boshan sensor he had acquired from Guan Yin's place to the Red Loong, claiming that the sensor could produce clouds and smoke. To further convince the Loong, he quoted an ancient passage, "A Loong cannot traverse without clouds." Trusting in this advice, Red Loong embedded the sensor on his back and burned his will to forcefully create smoke. When one sensor failed to suffice, he added another. Each time the sensors emitted smoke, it drained a great deal of his will, and the assistance they provided was minimal. Though Red Loong could once again take flight, it was far from the effortless grace of his earlier days. He was now resigned to live warily among the claw woods. Alas, how vexing it is to witness such a fate. A skill once mastered can fade with neglect. Such is the nature of all knowledge. If not used, it withers away and vanishes. How lamentable indeed. The lore of the Black Loong. For years, fishermen along the Jing River spoke of a Black Loong dwelling in the 9 depths, guarding a pearl of wisdom said to grant enlightenment. Many sought the pearl, but few returned, telling of the Loong prince who wielded twin hammers of thunder and fiercely protected his treasure. When the river flooded, they believed it was the prince's wrath, leading them to build a temple in his honor. One day, the Yellow Wind Sage, a master thief, dove into the depths to claim the pearl. Instead of finding fierce resistance, he discovered the Loong prince in despair. The prince explained that he had no desire to harm mortals and was bound by the whims of higher powers, his father condemned for a minor offense. The prince revealed that a fortune teller foretold he could atone by killing a westbound monkey. Sensing a connection in their fates, the Yellow Wind Sage invited the prince to join him on his journey, but only in exchange for all the treasures in his hoard. Since that day, the legend of the Black Loong and his pearl faded, and fewer sought the depths. The lore of the Cyan Loong. The Cyan Loong sought refuge in the New West and briefly encountered Yellowbrow, whose teachings he dismissed. To avoid conflict, he claimed he would fish in the Bitter Lake to prove his bond with bliss. Amused, Yellowbrow agreed but set a condition. The fishing rod couldn't be moved, nor could the Loong, or he would be deemed deceitful and imprisoned. The Cyan Loong accepted, transforming his Loong light sword into a fishing rod and sitting motionless on Turtle General's back. Despite harsh conditions, he remained unmoved, covered in snow, preferring hardship over abandoning his ideals. The lore of the Yellow Loong. The Yellow Loong sought safety by becoming a pattern on Yuan Shoucheng's robe, believing the old man's ability to foresee destiny would protect him. For 100 years, he followed Yuan, watching him predict futures, only to see most people fall into the same traps despite the warnings. Yuan often drowned his sorrows in wine, musing about the futility of seeing fate, yet being unable to change it. His words left the Loong questioning his own path, unsure whether to stay or leave. The downfall of the Four Loong brothers marked the end of their legacy, and their rivers were left untamed and in disarray, serving as a reminder of how divine schemes can destroy even the strongest of bonds. What began as a celestial gambit to inspire a pilgrimage became a tragedy that would forever be remembered as the fall of the Loongs.